Ottawa's real estate market is in a weird place right now, not crashing, not booming, just kind of catching its breath. And I'm Dean, I'm your local realtor in Ottawa, and here's what's actually happening in November so you can make the right choice before you make a move by the end of the year. All right, so getting right into it. So the average home price in Ottawa is sitting just around 690,000, which is basically flat year over year. But here's the kicker. Listings are up almost 20%, which means buyers finally have options. I know I've been kicking this around all year round that the listings are up and pricing is up and down, but really there is a good amount of inventory. Is it the right inventory for you? That is the real question. But let's see what the actual stats say, right? So let's go into the general MLS stats and what's happening in the last couple of weeks. So new listings week over week, we're seeing that they actually just tapered up slightly, which is pretty standard for most of the time in the last week. And we are, sorry, let's just cancel that. Look at this. So we are down from the last couple of weeks. Obviously, there's always a spike in October, but what happens in November? Look at the solds. This is really what's showing you what's happening in the market. So everybody thought the market is going to tank in the December, but look what happened. So the listings are coming down average as they were going per year over the years, but we just had a huge spike. This is the biggest spike since 2024 that we had, right? So we didn't have any sort of activity like 2024 over the last couple of weeks, but the last 3 weeks. So I was actually predicting that October would be a very busy month, but it actually turned out to be the beginning of November. And that's probably a little bit to do with the rates coming down slightly, which is a good boost for the sales. It'll show that right here. And also some of the inventory that's come up on the market has sold very quickly, right? So let's go to the next one. So average price point, residential only, residential and condo. So it's actually pretty flat, right? Just like I was saying, the major stat is 690,000 over year by year. You can see that we're kind of flat here. Very similar pricing on condos and residentials. If we look at residential, it's been kind of higher. We're at 690. It's pretty flat. We're in that range, right? But we're still up. So look what's happening here. If you bought in early 2024, you got a fantastic deal just a year and a half later, right? So that could be something that's happening for these people here because we might be in some low, just like this year, right? If you bought at the beginning of January, your prices were pretty good, right? Even if you bought here, you got a great deal. But obviously this will have to do with the inventory as well. Now, the biggest thing is we're not seeing bidding wars as of, we're seeing some bidding wars, but we're not seeing them in 2022, but good homes that show well and are priced right, they still move. And that means just this week, I had 11 showings that I had booked. And out of those 11, the 5 of the homes sold and not to my clients. So keep that in mind. We were a day or two late on going to see them. And let's say we booked a showing on the Monday to go see it on Wednesday. By Tuesday morning, they had an offer, right? Like, so all these different things. Obviously, I got some of my clients did get some offers accepted, but just keep that in mind. As you're seeing inventory come up, things will start to move. The East End, especially in Orleans, is picking up steam again, thanks to new infrastructure and family demand. I'm seeing Orleans pick up quite a bit in terms of what's moving. Townhouses are priced. If you compare it to Barhaven, Riverside South, Finley Creek, and Canada, Orleans is huge value, tons and tons of value. It just depends on if you want to live on that side of the city. So if you're buying, you've got breathing room. If you're selling, your prep game has to be on point. And this is the biggest thing where I'm seeing a lot of sellers kind of fumble the ball right off the bat. You're missing the point is basically instead of doing what you need to do to get ready for sale, staging, pricing, marketing, all of it matters. You can't just say, I'm going to move some things around and put a sign on the ground, my home's ready for sale. It's more than that. You need to have a professional cleaning done. I always recommend a professional cleaning because it just makes the home shine, right? It gives that good, clean feel. I know it's hard to live in. It's hard to keep a home super clean in that condition, but at the same time too, you have to at least your first 3 to 5 days are critical when you're listing your home because that's when you're going to get the most amount of action. It always tapers off, but if the first 5 days, first 3 days, if you can keep it in pristine condition, that is going to help you a lot because if whoever's coming in and they're like, all of these things matter, right? First impressions. I know it's tough to have a good first impression on the way your home looks right now because it's gloomy out and all that stuff, but all of these things matter. And pricing, if the last few homes sold at a certain price point, there's no reason why you should. Let's say the last 2 homes that sold similar to your home and they sold for, let's say, 610, right, or 615. There's no reason why you should be pricing at 649 or 640 or 635. You should be within a percent or two of that last sale price.
You really should be, because doing that, the likelihood of you getting multiple offers is huge, because people are going to see the value. Oh, look what the last one sold for. It's the exact same model, similar lot size. This one's actually in a better neighborhood. I'm actually willing to pay 620, 625 for it, right? So you're going to see buyers see the value. And most of these buyers right now, they might actually be missing out on some of the other homes that are selling. So like, we look back here at the sold properties, like this is a huge boost. Look at the last couple of years before that. So 22, 23, everything was tapering off, right? They had a big boom right here, but tapered off dramatically. Like, whereas here, we're actually going up by a huge amount, especially compared to last year, right? Last year, we're very identical to that, minus some of this stuff here, but it's really a big change. Now, what to do now? Heading into winter, we usually see fewer listings, so we are going to see that taper off right here. This is not an indication of that, but typically we're going to see a slope come down to here. Now, whoever it doesn't sell in this area, and keep this in mind, we're 20% up from listings year over year. But what if, let's say a lot of these listings that don't sell here, what if a lot of those still relist here in the new year, right? 2026. This is something to be very cognizant of when you're one of those sellers that's going to be competing with different listings, because we might actually see a spring market come up then later, because there's going to be so much inventory. So just keep that in mind. This is one that's very, very tricky. You can't really predict what's going to happen, but I just think that there's so much more inventory that we've had. Like there's like been up all year. Like other than the first few weeks of the year where nobody knew anything about the tariffs, once the tariffs hit, we saw inventory skyrocket, right? And let's see what happens this year. Do we know if anything major is going to change in our economy? We don't. Is the economy in a good place? Not that great of a place, right? So let me go back into here. So November, October 2025. Right here. So highlight. So new listings, October only. 2025, we're at 2,405 new listings. 2024, we had 2,120. 2023, 1957. 2020, we had the most amount, right? But we also had tons of sales activity. Months of inventory in 2020 was 0.9. This is because everything's pushed towards the back end of the year. Whereas here we're at 3.6. So it's actually better than 2023 for that month, which is surprising. So over 2.9 we had in 2024. But look where we're at. We're still better than a 2015 market. We're still better than 2016. We're around a 2017-ish market. I think we're going to be probably in a, I think this is the kind of range that we're going to be heading into, right? But look at 2019, like COVID, we were still heading into a pretty big seller's market. That's kind of what I like to remind people of, is like, best time to buy was, if we look at this graph, it was 2015, because you had the most inventory and great price points, right? Like with that, right? There's barely any increase, but even like 2019 compared to 2015, it's quite a big increase. Activity. So year to date, we're at 12,197. Year to date last year, we're at 11,803. So because there's more inventory, we also got more sales. Are we in a down year compared to 2021? Yes. Are we in a down year compared to 2019? Yes. We're about $2,000 shy, but look at the other years, right? There's been less inventory, and that hasn't made up for it. If we go back to 2015, we're slightly over 2015, and 2015 had triple the amount of inventory as us. Double, triple, whatever, somewhere in that range, right? 2015, we had year to date, we had 5.4 months of inventory. Date this year, we're at 3.1. Last year was 2.7. The year before that, 2.3. In the peak, we're at 1 month of inventory or less, which was 2021, 0.8 months of inventory. So you couldn't find a house, right? Everybody's talking about, like, your seller, there's so much inventory, but like, if you're a seller, you also have to move somewhere. Not every seller is an investor where they're just holding properties. It's like, seller, yes, you were getting peak prices, but what were you buying? You were getting into a huge bidding war just to buy something. So you're just replacing one evil with another evil by overpaying for such and such, right? Whereas now it's quite balanced. We're very similar. Like, you can see that 3.2 months of inventory in 2017, 2019, 1.6 months of inventory. So we were already heading into a tough kind of seller's market. Like these two, right? Anything less than 3 months of inventory is considered seller's market. Anything more than months of inventory is considered a buyer's market, right? Everything more than 6 months of it, or yeah, I'll have to go back and check that. But You can tell like a lot more balanced right now compared to these years. Even last year felt more of a seller's market than it was a buyer's market. What we got here? So sales activity, that's fine. We shall go through that. Market activity highlight. Yeah, so the new listings is quite up. Now, what do we do now? Timing, like that's the big question. You're looking for a specific neighborhood. Is there something you want? But it's like Ottawa's gone from a sprint to a jog, and if you're walking in this market, you could be left out. Um, Keep that in mind. You gotta find what you like, or if you love something, jump on it because you might not see it again. Might not be as much good inventory as what you're looking for, especially if you're looking for some of those homes in the city. Like if we're looking at the Glebe, Westboro, Hintonburg, around that area where it's highly sought after, we're not going to have as much inventory to choose from. And I always keep harping on this, is that in suburbs you can do whatever you want, right? So if you're in Orleans, Barhaven, Canada, um, Riverside South, if you're looking in those neighborhoods, you probably have about 20 to 30 townhomes to choose from. You probably have about 30 to 40 single homes to choose from. And if we reverse that, if we go right into the city, we're probably looking at maybe 20 to 20-ish homes per neighborhood, right? Max. Like if we're looking at, like, let's say you're looking for a townhome in Westboro, you might have like 6 to choose from or 5 to choose from, and all varying price points. It could be anywhere from $1 million to 2.5, right, depending on the size of them. If you're looking for singles, you have a very small sample size of what you can choose from, because all those homes are going to be different years, different styles, different upgrades, so many different changes, right? Whereas suburbs is quite different, whereas it's very uniform. It's like all kind of type of homes. So that's just one thing you got to keep in mind. Biggest thing first right now is find out your mortgage rate. One thing I wanted to always touch on is the market watch, the Canada 5-year bonds year to date. We always say this is how we talk about fixed rates, right? They're at the lowest they've been all year, 2.68, 2.4 in April. So it's going to be just as good. In the last, we're in a 3-year low basically, right? Rates are at the lowest that they've been. Prices are at the lowest that they've been in a year. So I'd say it's probably a good time to buy. Is it a good time to sell? Depends on how prepped you are and what your pricing is. Doesn't mean you can't sell. It just means that you have to be very strategic, and work with does matter. If you want a custom breakdown of your neighborhood, Orleans, Barhaven, Canada, shoot me a DM or book a quick call through my Calendly link below. I'll show you exactly what's selling, what's sitting, position yourself to win before 2026. Whether it's buying a new home and getting a good deal on it, or whether it's selling your home and maximizing your profit on the property, so that you can change your life to a newer home, or to a different style of home. I'll catch you guys in the next one. This is it for now. I'll do some more market updates as we go on, but if you like these videos, please subscribe and follow us along, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Have a good day.